They're sacred marks, a living memorial of the man who lived here. We're sitting in my childhood home that was built by my mom and dad. We moved in here in 1957. Dad was a cowboy. He worked on ranches in the summer, and in the winter he worked at the Ogden feed yard. It was in February of 1954. He was on top of a barn holding a metal pipe, and as he was walking across the roof, the metal pipe hit a live electrical wire. He fell off of the top of the barn and broke his neck. Mom got a call. I could tell she was upset, and this had never happened before. The doctors met with her and said, "Do you want him to live? Because it will be a horribly difficult life." And she said, "With all my heart." Dad had the use of his arms and his shoulders, but nothing below. There was no Americans with Disabilities Act. There were no accommodations for bathrooms or cars or anything. If he wanted to go to a movie, it was a rare thing. My grandmother Jessop, his mother, when she heard what had happened, just said, "I'd like to give you some land here on this property, and you bring your family home." Took out a mortgage, and they had a good friend who was a contractor and a builder, and he immediately took the plans and adapted it for Dad. There are ramps. The doors were accommodated wide for a wheelchair. I never thought of Dad being paralyzed. We had the barn, horses, and cattle. I thought we lived on Noah's Ark. It seemed like to me we had two of everything. And my brother and I were his legs. It just was a happy place. All my children grew up here, staying over with Grandma and Grandpa, and now all of their children come here. And one of the things I did once we took possession of the house was the backyard. I admired this architect in town. He put in a little waterfall and made these stone pavers all around. And I specifically said, it cannot have any stairs. So if my dad were here, he could race around these pavers and just have a ball. This home was to be lived in. Real people lived here with real lives. And I don't know why, I can't explain why, but I want to preserve it. If you look on the doors, you can still see the marks of my dad's wheelchair. Those are Dad. It wasn't a vandalism, it wasn't carelessness. It was a man who loved this place, and it's where he lived. So I've decided they're not going away. And I've told my children and grandchildren about it, and Grandpa is still here.